Please go ahead. You can go ahead, Gaurav.
Okay. Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. As I'm Gaurav Singh, and I'm working as Senior Solution Architect, Deep Learning in For Solutions Private Limited, Chandigarh. So, like, we are going to cover a very important topic in deep learning today, which is a great value and importance. So nowadays that we are dealing with thousands of layers, like we are like there are networks which are even more than that, like deeper more than that. These a deep neural network puts lot of challenges in front of us. Like to deal with this network, we need lots of computational capabilities, which is becoming a big constraint in front of deep learning practitioners, because nothing comes for free. If you want to get that much computational capability, you have to invest a lot on your hardware. If I say, like, you can use whatever the computational capability you are having right now, you can double it. Or you have, if you are having 4 GB GPU, you can use it as 8 GB. Or if you are having 8 GB GPU, you can use as it as 16 GB. So isn't it a great achievement? So for that, like, there are some technique some of you might have heard also: mixed precision or half precision. So I will move forward to that. So basically, as I think so Sayam already told about one project, robot project, which they delivered to the government. So they are giving using TX2 in that, and they are getting FPS of 60 FPS they are getting on that. So if I say, like, they can increase the speed FPS speed by simple change in the code, and if you are using Nano, you can also increase its speed by just 2 line of codes. How you can do that? So when you talk about half precision, there are 16-bit. We are talking about 16-bit floating point numbers. So if we train our model, as you know that by default it get trained in 32 bits. What 32 bits I mean is, like, there is going to be like weights and biases which are going to be represented in 32 bits, and gradient also. So like 32 bit, like 1 2 3 4 up till now 32 bits it will cover. So as you can see in the graph, suppose all the important features, like this is normal distribution graph, all the no, like important features are lying in the center, and all those features which are not that much important lying at the edges. So if I take you can say, if I take 16-bit, only this portion of the graph, you can see only this portion of the graph, that then I will, like, definitely there will reduce in the performance, and there will be like reduce in accuracy and all that. But the advantage which I will get is lower memory uses. Instead of now using 32-bit, I'm using 16-bit, faster training speed. So you can just tune your model efficiently. You can do the changes fastly, and faster inference speed. When it comes to inference, you can do inferencing fast. But now, instead of doing that, just if I see this graph, I'm taking as only this portion of the graph. If I shift it to 8 bits here, like 8 bit this side, then if this graph 8 bit shift will lie like this dotted graph. So that middle portion come into the 16-bit part, and this portion will not be utilized. So will be like none, you can say zero, it becomes zero. So all the important features are getting used in 16-bit, and all the some features which are not important, we are not going to use them. So half precision come with own set of troubles. So what are the troubles which half precision bring us? While you train the model, it's there is a convergence issue. While about performance issue is there, like I said, like accuracy will decrease. So why that is happening? Because batch normalization and all some operations are there which are not supported by FP16. So earlier, I think almost all of us are doing our deep learning practice on NVIDIA's GPUs. So like earlier FP16 was, there is no support for that. But now there is one technique. Why one technique which is developed is known as mixed precision, where apart from these we can cover like we can overcome these disadvantages, and we can leverage the advantages of mixed precision. So there will be very less decrease in the accuracy, and there is like advantages will be there, like low memory use will be there, faster training speed will be there, faster inference speed will be there. So earlier, if we talk about batch normalization layer, so what is happening over there is like you are taking mean of all the weights. If suppose I'm talking about the weight matrix, all the in the batch, so weight mean minus upon standard deviation, and in the graph you can see that we are like removing all those which are outliers, so it is affecting our standard deviation. So that's why batch normalization we can't do in fp16 mode, so there we have to shift to fp32. So that's why its name come into the picture as uh, mixed precision, because some operation we are going to do as fp16 mode, and some operation which we can't do in fp16 will be done in fp32 mode. So I talked about shifting this graph to this side, as you can see the dotted graph over there. So basically, so how to shift that? So for that, sorry, yeah, so this is mean which I was talked about. So in mixed precision we are getting a speed up of 3.3 times in case of BERT. In case of GNMT, 1.7 times speed up. In case of NCF, 2.6 times speed up. ResNet 50, 3.3 times speed up. So these are the some of the like some of the speed ups which just a two line of code in your two line of code in your whatever the code you have written, and you can get this much speed up. So that was our talking about JAD is equal to x minus mu upon standard deviation. So basically, if I'm saying here like all the uh, weights are the like me in the batch, we are having weight minus its mean weight upon standard deviation. So if you go here in the graph, this dotted graph is like getting shifted. So in this you can see that these are the outliers. So these outliers are what I mean to say is not is affecting the value of standard deviation. That's why we can't do like we can't do batch normalization. Okay, so I was talking about I think I skipped that slide, so that's why I just like repeat it back. So I was talking about scaling factor. As we shift the graph from this side, so we need to multiply. There must be some factor by which we are shifting it. So there's like we can choose any number for scaling factor, but how to decide the best scaling factor is one of the point. So suppose you are multiplying it with some number, some scaling factor, and you are getting lot of none values. Like these values are null and void now. So lot of null values. Then you have to decrease your scaling factor. If you want to like, if you are getting less null values, so you can increase the scaling factor. So that way, but instead of going into this, you don't need to do all this manually. So how it happens? So there is a technique called automatic mix precision. The automatic mix precision is this will do itself scaling factor itself, so you don't have to worry about it. So in that, suppose I will share one code. Wait. Yeah. So so you can see I'm training my model. So what will happen here is in the first iteration, first epoch. So it will calculate uh, the error like loss in both FP32 mode and FP16 mode, and it find the difference of it. Then it try to find out the best scaling factor for it, and in next iteration it try to find out the next scaling factor. So this way we automatic mix precision work. So yeah, So basically, we what we do, we can like just like speed up just two line of code. That's what I said. So I will show you the code. What two line changes I did. So one line change is os dot environment ts enable auto mix precision is equal to 1. So I am environmental variable, I am setting it to 1. And after that, huh, so here I used opt is equal to instance of adam optimizer. Then this tf dot train experimental enable mix precision graph rewrite, and I'm passing that optimizer here. So these are the two line of code which I am doing. And uh, believe me, you will get a speed up of 3 to 4 times in your code. But constant is there. What the constant is, like you should have tensor cores in your gpu, otherwise you will not get the speed up. Yeah, but still there is one thing which like if you are having pascal architecture, then basically you will get you will not get much speed up, but you will like not that much speed up, because this is something which is based on the code which you will write is based on your hardware. Although like now nvidia already launched this ampere architecture on 14th of may, I guess. But like to leverage this automatic mix precision, you should have tensor cores in your gpu. So I will share the source code for mix precision also. So here this is something which I'm using without mix precision. So to understand how mix precision work, you can have look at this code. And this is something you can see tf32 variables. So I tried with various points. Somewhere I am using converting, not converting to 32, and somewhere I'm like converting it. So I'm trying to find out what is happening in the code. So you can also play and practice with it. So basically one advantage which you will get even if you are not having tensor cores in your gpu is that you can double your batch size. Like if earlier if you are getting resource exhaust either as 128 batch size, and now converting it to mixed precision, if using using automatic mixed precision, then you can double your batch size to 256. That's what I want to say. So isn't it a great thing to do? So after that, yeah, so here, so this is the one success story which we had is automatic mix precision given by V Lin, senior director of Alibaba Computing Platform. Automatic mix precision by NVIDIA Tensor Core GPUs on Alibaba allow us an instantly speed up AI model nearly 3 times. Our research appreciated the ease of turning on this feature to instantly accelerate our AI. So I already I already explained you the, like you have to do only while training, you have to do only two line change in two line of code to make your like training in 16-bit. Yeah, so now like how the process, like how the basically what I'm trying to explain here is how you can write your code according to your hardware. So basically what happens when you train your models, all the data like which is your hard disk, all the data which you are having in your hard disk goes into the like goes into the ram. From ram, what will happen over there is uh, yeah, so on ram what will happen over there is uh, suppose there is like you are having convolutional operation, like convolutional layer you are having, so what will happen over there is like uh, your data got load, cpu directs your cpu directs and load the data into your gpu ram, vram. So there convolutional operation happens over there and it move back to your ram memory. After that cpu again read the instruction, that is like you are going to have ReLU operation over there. So that data move from ram again to gpu, or in gpu ReLU operation will happen over there. And again that data move back to in your ram. Then again cpu like read the that there is next layer, next instruction is like batch normalization. So it will move the data from RAM to again to your this GPU, and their batch normalization operation will happen over there, and your data will move back to uh, your RAM. So what I'm mean to say is, what I'm trying to say is here, you are having to and fro movement of data 6 times to have 3 operations. But if I say, like if I put the data into the GPU once, and all the convolutional and this batch normalization and ReLU operation happens at once, and it goes the after then it goes back to the RAM. So basically the movement to and fro movement of data is like taking lot of your computational capital. Like you are not doing a real computation. The most of your time you are wasting in this to and fro movement of your data. So instead of wasting your time, or instead of you utilizing your time on like on some real computation, you are wasting it on just a to and from moment. So what if I say I can keep the data on GPU only, and I do all the computation, then I move back. Then like what I mean to say, once the data move onto the GPU, it will do the convolutional operation there, it will the ReLU operation there, then it will do the batch normalization, then it move back. So from 6 times to we reduce to 2 times. Isn't it a great achievement? Like it will reduce the bottleneck which we are facing while we train our model. So how we can do that? So there is an open source platform for that, what we call as TensorRT. So yeah, so I think most of you might be heard about it. So NVIDIA TensorRT is a SDK, software development kit for high performance deep learning inference. So yeah, so it sorry. So, yeah, it includes a deep learning inference optimizer and runtime that deliver low latency and high throughput for deep learning inference applications. TensorRT based application perform up to, mark my word, up to 40 times faster than CPU platforms during inference. With TensorRT, you can optimize neural networks models trained in all major frameworks, calibrate for lower precision with high accuracy. TensorRT is built on CUDA. So basically, we might all of us might note that NVIDIA have CUDA architecture for their like utilizing of their GPUs. So CUDA is written in C++. Over that we have wrappers, and then we can utilize Python wrappers, and you can in Python also. So so I explained about half precision in 16. So if I say I can do this in 8 8-bit mode, then you can see like up till now I'm talking about 16-bit. If I say I can do it in 8 bits also, so 8 bits I might get like I might get like accuracy loss of 1 or 2%, not more than that. But uh, still I'm like some application are like that we can uh, we can bear the loss of 1 or 2% accuracy, but we can't bear the loss that it should perform real time. Like it should know, we can't bear the loss of latency. So the latency should be not. So in that kind of application, it will work really fine. So yeah, so moving ahead, actually some disturbance is there. Hello. Yeah. So moving ahead. So yeah. So TensorRT not only reduce the to and from movement of the data, but it also help you. Yeah, I will put it here. So basically, this is some. If you train your model, na, you save it as model.h. If you're training it in Keras, so you save the model as h5 file. When you, if you are like there are some new neutron is there. Through neutron, you can visualize your graph, your train model graph. So you will get something picture like this are concrete input, convolution 1 into 1 bias ReLU, then 3 into 3 convolution, then bias ReLU. So this kind of graph you will get when you try to get that h5 plot, h5 graph plot. So what TensorRT do? It do both horizontal optimization plus vertical optimization. So what it is doing here, you can see after converting to TensorRT graph, this 1 into 1 convolution ReLU bias become one block. This is uh, vertical optimization which I'm talking about. This ReLU bias one into one collision, ReLU bias one into one collision, ReLU bias one into, so it become, so instead of doing again and again, it become one block. So after that, you can see uh, ReLU bias one into one. We can't optimize this vertically because the max point layer is coming in. So after that, here you can see ReLU bias 5 into 5 convolution. So it is becoming a one block. So ReLU bias 3 into 3 convolution, it is becoming a one block. So instead of doing, it is reducing to and fro movement, plus it is doing we call it CBR block. So convolution bias and ReLU block. So instead of doing all this, it is optimizing in two ways, like this way and to and fro movement, and plus it is doing all the operation in one go. So how it is go, there is a CUDA, no, not CUDA, so there is a kernel written behind. So there are like 36 kernel, like their CBR kernel is written, and there's many other kernels are written like that, so after that, like random forest algorithm choose the best kernel for your graph. Like if it is like something leaky RLU, so it will not, I'm talking about TensorFlow TensorRT. So there are two TensorRT are there, like native TensorRT and one is TensorFlow TensorRT. In case of TensorFlow TensorRT, so that TensorFlow TensorRT is a library which is already you can import inside your TensorFlow. Whatever your code you are doing, just import it and you can utilize it. And native TensorRT is something which is different from that. But this lecture we are going to cover only TensorFlow TensorRT. So it will, if it is leaky value, so there might not be any kernel for that. Then it will not optimize that. It will leave leaky value block as like earlier as like that. So basically, what I meant to say is, if you are having like here uh, 32 nodes operations are have each node, we are saying that there is some operations are taking place, matrix plus operation or matrix multiplication operation. So we are reducing it to 1 2 3 4 5 or 6 blocks. So isn't it a great achievement? So because now your like to from movement is reduced, and your operations, node operations are get reduced and happening at once. So by this way, we are attaining a great achievement in inference time, and yeah, like you can attain a very high speed up in high speed up in yeah, inferencing. So now moving to the code, how we can do this. Yeah, code. Yeah, so I just took a very simple data set. I will share with you this this notebook, and you can utilize this code according to your whatever the work which you are doing. So this is a fashion MNIST data set. So here's a simple model which I designed, and I'm training it. Then I save, yeah, I save it as model H5 file. After that, I'm getting input node and output node. So one of the best practices while you do is uh, which like I think everybody should take, which I didn't took here actually, but yeah. So you should provide uh, layer name, like yeah, here, yeah. You should provide a parameter which is like name. Like I provided here, name is equal to last. You can provide here also input layer and output layer. Name is equal to first, because when you restart your kernel, so this layer name got changing again. As you can see in model.summary, so you can see first name parameter is passed as first, then it will usually first as a name, it got fixed, then it is last as got fixed. But if you restart your kernel and you didn't change, put pass the name as parameter, then your name will start keep changing again and again. So this is one practice that everybody should follow. After that, like after saving the model, so I got my output layer name last softmax. So what I'm doing here is I'm going into the backend. So yeah, take care us. and get session. And after that, what I will do is I will save the from h5 file. I will go into the backend and I will save it as TensorFlow backend. Like there, if you save it, there will be 4 files you will get. One is meta, one is data, one is indexing, and one more. I forgot the name. Yeah. So after that, what you do is, uh, yeah, this yeah. So basically, you load your meta file. You provide the last layer output name. You made you froze the graph. Froze the graph means you made all the variables to constant. After that, there is a frozen model.pb file which you will create. Okay, PB file you can upload in Neutron, which I was saying, and frozen model is saved there. So you can see the difference between the TensorRT optimized model and then your native TensorFlow model. So after that, you can see the difference. I'm able to move the nodes from 47 to 37, and I was using it on I did it on my laptop, which is containing 1050 Ti laptop. This is Pascal architecture. If you go for like newer, you might get more optimization over here. And yes, you can Keras. Yeah. So I designed one more. There is a one famous Kaggle competition, which was SIP classification, a game of deep learning. Game of deep learning. So it comes on the name of the Game of Thrones. So this is really like little more dense, and I'm able to optimize it from 219 node graph to 144. So if like just hypothetically, I'm saying that if one node is taking 1 second, so there will be 219 second you are doing computation. So here it get reduced to 144 second. So basically now if you do the inferencing part also, so you will get a performance speed up for sure. So what I'm getting here is in during inferencing is 5% speed up. So basically that's what I'm talking about. This is 1050 Ti. If you are having this is Pascal architecture, if you are having like your laptop some 2060 27 2080, then you might get much more speed up. Yeah. So now go back to the questions.
I thank you, Gaurav. Is this the end of your session? So I'll stop recording.
I will conclude now. So anybody have any question, please ask.
Yeah, I'll stop recording. Then we can answer the questions.